So, hello and welcome to the Art of Selling Online Courses. The goal of today's video podcast is to share winning strategies and secret hacks from top performers in the online course industry. And today's guest is Dr. Shannon Weeks. And Dr. Weeks is a board certified primary care physician. He earned his medical degree from the National College of Natural Medicine in Portland, Oregon. He's also board certified in Applied Kinesiology. So some clever shit going on here. He believes in treating the whole patient and focusing on the cause of the illness, whether it's structural, nutritional, or emotional. And his goal is to help free patients from the burden of previous health conditions and prevent future illness. He also sells online courses. Now, before we start learning from Shannon, I want to mention our sponsor. The Art of Selling Online Courses is brought to you thanks to my company, Data Driven Marketing. And what we do is we help online course creators to increase their online course revenue 20 to 100% through strategic funnel optimization. So go to datadrivenmarketing.co/calculator to find out how much you could be making from your courses with the ideal funnel. Shannon, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm very excited.
Let's kind of go through the origin story a little bit here. You're a doctor and you're selling online courses. How did that come about?
Yeah, so that was never the intention. I started when I was in medical school. I was taking courses taught by my mentor, who was he was my doctor for 8 years, and he was the one who inspired me to go to medical school. And he would fly up to Portland to teach these courses on applied kinesiology that were on the weekends. And so these courses were taught to first-year med students and also to practicing doctors. And during these weekends, we would learn a lot of information, and I could only, write down as, so much. And there was a lot of things that they were taught, specifically learning all these different orthopedic muscle tests, how to test the deltoid, how to test the, all the muscles and ankles and stuff. And it took quite a lot of practice. And after the weekend, you would retain, 10, 20, 30% of what you saw. And so what I wanted was some videos that I could film the doctors doing, and then I could review on my own just for my learning, so I could absorb this information. So I teamed up with one of the doctors there who also, co-taught the course, and filmed him in detail doing all these different muscle tests. There's about 60 different orthopedic tests. And then I arranged those together. So every time, when I was practicing, I would say, okay, I'd pull up the video on how to test the anterior tibialis, and I would, and then I would practice on somebody, and we would have clubs on the weekend where we would all practice and watch the videos of these doctors doing these tests. Well, obviously people were interested in that. And so I took those videos and I put it on a DVD. And so it was just alphabetical listing of all the different muscles. And so you could just pull up, and click on the video, and it would show you the DVD. And we sold those for like $75 or something like that, just to people in the class. And again, it was never the intention. In 2013, my now wife and I sold our practices in Oregon and started traveling and moved to Thailand. And I was practicing there, and I got hooked up into this entrepreneurial crowd who was living in Chiang Mai, and decided to take that DVD that I had and put it online, so pull everything and make a website and do all that, which I learned from other entrepreneurs there in Chiang Mai. And that really was my first course. I sold for $199, and it was for this very, very small niche. And so I started a little Facebook group, and then I would promote it to mainly students who were in chiropractic school or naturopathic school that were learning this. And so that's how that started, was just with that one course. I knew of these other courses that doctors had filmed that were all on DVDs, but they were doctors and not entrepreneurs in that sense. And so they were very difficult to find. You had to know the guy. You had to, it was like calling up an office and like sending in a check, and then they would mail you, it was just like and it bothered me because this information was amazing.
Yeah.
And I knew the power that it had from working on patients and knowing other doctors who did this. It wouldn't be uncommon for a patient to come in and say, well, why did my other doctor do that? And it's like, well, because they just weren't in the class or didn't know about it. That's it. And so for me, it should have been like, if you need this information, you should be able to just click a button and get it. And so one of the biggest doctors in this field I knew had filmed, basically his life's work that he had done over about 1.5 years and had it professionally filmed. And I was aware of this course called Quintessential Applications. And one of the doctors was teaching in Belgium, and I flew up there and took his course. And then I showed him my muscle testing training thing. I says, your course is amazing. It needs to be online like this. And, and they had that intention, but again, they're, working physicians and, don't know about the internet or don't, who do you call? Where do you, just, you're just stuck. Like, I don't even know where to, when I get off from work, who do I do? Am I calling up web designer? Like, just nowhere to go. And so, when I came in and showed, like, look, I understand this information. This is, this is what we need to do. And that's kind of how it started. And then I reached out to another doctor in the field who also had a course on DVD, and I took them off and put them online and, put it in a membership site that doctors could join. So, and it never started out that way, but it ended up being that way because I really get passionate about getting this material out into the world, where before it was actually just difficult to find.
As you were saying that, I got running through my head, you were saying who you're going to call. I'm like, if you're a doctor and you got a course, who are you going to call? Dr. Shannon Weeks.
How you call me? Right.
So it's fascinating, isn't it? It's like there's all of these people in the world who are complete experts in a specific area, but until somebody connects together with the online world, like look at courses about digital marketing. Well, there's thousands of them because people who know about digital marketing know about selling courses online. It's like the two of them go together. But some of this stuff, like the top experts in the world are not the same people as the ones who want to sell an online course. And there's just, I wonder like how many other people are there out there who are an amazing expert who you could take that course and sell it.
All of them. I know many personally that I would like, you need to film this and put it on, but then it becomes, where do you, it's just too foreign. And for many of them, they're physicians. So they're working at what they want to do and they're making a good living, most of them. Yeah. And so what's the impetus is like, when you realize, it's a lot of work to put these things up online and keep them running. And it's another separate business that you have to, and new skills you have to acquire. And, after you spend all that time in medical school and practicing, nobody's, they're not going to go learn how to build a WordPress site. And usually it's a matter of hiring somebody out, but that becomes expensive. Do I want to pay someone $10,000, $20,000 to take my videos, put them on? I mean, usually it's like, this is just something I did so I could share it with other doctors. And so there's a lot of that out there that, that they're not motivated by, they would like to do it, but when you realize the time and expense, it's like, man, I've got other things to do.
So we kind of talked through about the main course. What is it teaching people? Can you kind of give everyone an overview? I know that the audience here is not doctors, so they're not going to get all of this, but can you give kind of an overview?
Yeah, and so these courses primarily are taught to chiropractors. And the reason why is because the person who developed these systems was a chiropractor, but it's also practiced by medical doctors, dentists, acupuncturists, and they're combining neurology, physiology, biochemistry, nutrition in a way so that when a patient walks into your office and they have a set of conditions, you have a process of how to evaluate and how to treat that is very systematic and really gets to the cause. So someone comes in with the symptoms, what's really causing that? And in a nutshell, this is what this teaches. It's a clinical protocol that you use in your office. And so they come in and then you would start going through this protocol to address whatever's going on in them. So it's not so much, what do you do for, this condition? It's like, well, you treat the whole person. And so each you can have 10 people come in with shoulder problems and 10 people get completely different treatments because the reason they have that is going to be different than the next. There's no one size fits all. And so the doctor who came up with this main course, he's been practicing for, probably 40 years. And he's one of these guys, he forgets more in a day than I will ever know. Just one of these minds that has been able to take all of this information and to synthesize it into a course. It's not a small, it's a 200 hours of video. It was a course that was taught over 16 weekends. And so it took you almost 2 years of flying and, taking these weekend courses to learn it, that they put it on. So it's comprehensive, but you can start in little chunks. And so if you have a practice, if you're a practicing physician, you can watch the first session, the first, 8 or 9 hours of video and learn some techniques and tools. Oh, my next patient, I'm going to try this. I'm going to look for this.
Got
So
it.
in a nutshell, it teaches a clinical protocol that allows you to address really whatever walks into your office.
Got it. Okay. So you're in this situation, you're out in Chiang Mai, you've learned all about these putting online courses up, you started selling some yourself, you've flown out to Belgium, you've taken the course, you've talked to the doctor, you're like, great, let's put this all up online. How did you then start? What was first? Did you start building up a Facebook group?
Right. Good question. So these doctors, the main doctor, Dr. Schmitt, who've been teaching this for many years, and he teaches all over the world. They had a website that you could go to that was really just sort of an HTML thing that you could kind of click and see the information, and then they give you like a number to order, like an email. So he had a list of, I forget how big it was. Maybe it was 1,500 people. And because he is who he is in this field, he gets approached by a lot of people. And so there's always like, who's this guy? I know he's a doctor, blah, blah. What I did is I told him, look, let me take this. I'm going to build this site to you for free. I'm going to take all this video. I'm going to upload it. You give me your list. Let me market it to these people who are already familiar with it because it's your list. And let's see if this sells, if this digital thing sells. So give me your, and so that's how we actually, so I started with his small list of 1,500. He's like, okay, let's try and see if it even works, because it's an older crowd. They're not very, they're not very tech savvy. And we did a couple just launches to this list. Hey, we've taken all this information out. Many of them had seen them and just hadn't bothered to buy the DVDs or, whatever, for whatever reason. And for me, my computer was old at the time and it didn't have a DVD player. And I was like, people are not going to have DVDs anymore. This information is going to be lost. And so it started with that list, and we just did a straight up email campaign to this list of 1,500 people. We did like sort of 3 little mini launches. We sold like $60,000 for the courses and those. And so obviously it was something that, and once they had seen that, it's okay, now let's officially partner up and, go through all this. So it started with that small list. Then we went to Facebook ads, doing a typical digital marketer. Forget the guy, Ryan. I'd taken one of his courses talking about the Tripwire Funnel. And so I took a little 10-minute video that was the free video. And then I had the $7 Tripwire that was the rest of the lecture, another 30 minutes. And then that upselled to the first session out of 16 for, half off. And then we would say, oh, would you like the rest of the course? So it was a typical sort of Tripwire funnel, which still run.
Nice. For anyone listening, if you haven't seen this before, so I talk a lot about the Tripwire Funnel. We love Tripwire Funnels, think they're fantastic. Ryan Dice was the person I learned about them from the most.
Me too.
He just goes crazy for it. He's like, the Tripwire Funnel is the funnel. It's like, just focus on this, is amazing. And he teaches courses about it, and he's got some free courses about it, and they have it on their website. It's like they've got a very long detailed post on Digital Marketer about like the reason for it and why this works and the kind of the structure of it, which is fantastic.
I've been using it for 5 years, and it's one of those things like, there's all kinds of shiny objects out there, and many, I think probably most of them work, but for my audience, again, mostly older, the idea of, putting an email and getting a free video, this is something that by now they're accustomed to. And then it had, the whole thing for this crowd, it needed to be very easy, and they needed to be, oh, click here and you'll get the rest. Click here, So it's a very simple, easy to understand, that's appropriate for courses anyway. I don't know about selling other things. It's the thing that's worked best for getting new people. And then the rest of our sales, because they're physicians, 98% of our sales come through email, because they don't have time to go through, they're used to reading emails. And so the idea was just to get, even if they didn't buy all the stuff, we could then, now we have their email, we can send them a lot of stuff. And so we sell through email, but we use the Tripwire Funnel to get them in there, new people in there.
Got it. So someone comes through to the website, it's qahomestudy.com. There's a sign up free sample lecture on injury recall technique. And
very niche. Right.
Yeah.
This would only make sense to you. It only make sense to you if you're in this field.
So you got your free sample lecture, you sign up here. and you get your access, and that's going to take you through to then get Tripwire. So is this where you're sending people through to with the Facebook ads, just straight through to the homepage?
So we actually have landing pages too.
Okay.
From the Facebook ad, it would go to a landing page about that ad, about, hey, enter your email here. This is our homepage. And so you would get this little lecture here. As you see, it's 10 minutes long. It's sort of the beginning of the lecture. You have 3 days, and then we send you emails. When that expires, you get the same lecture, but it's $47, which has actually worked. We have people actually buy that $47 lecture, even though. So this is still our Tripwire.
Got it. So yeah, so you got a $47 live IRT demonstration, reduced to $7 for 3 days. You send some emails to remind people that that's out there. They come back and they can buy it for $7. Then what happens next? If someone buys that for $7, what's the next step after that?
So this is a little 10-minute talk on injury recall techniques. That tells you what it is. The $7 shows you. So it's him actually demonstrating technique and how to use it. And this is all from the very first session of our course, which is 16 sessions. So the next is an upsell to session 1, which is the full weekend seminar, about 8 or 9 hours of video. And normally it sells for $399. You can get it for $149.
Got it.
And the whole goal is, there's a lot of medical stuff out there. This guy is an exceptional teacher. And so the whole goal is like, look, just watch it. You'll know at the end of this session whether it's for you or not. And I know that to be true. And so we're just trying to get it in their hand. Price point is different. For a doctor, it's not so much about the money, it's about the time. And so you have to convince them that it's worth the time, because
right.
Doctors pay a lot for continuing education. And so about the money, it's like, you got this much time. Is this worth the hours that I have for continuing education? Is this worth it? So we get them to watch the first one, and then we send them emails. We send them emails previewing session 2. And you can get session 2, which is all about low back. I think we offer it for $249. And so we just kind of have, we pull them in like that.
And what you're doing here is a classic thing that Ryan Deiss teaches. You can see almost immediately that it's taken from that called product splintering, which is like, for anybody who's not heard this term before, you take your whole course and you splinter out a part of it, and that becomes your upsell, let's say in this case. And then which is the first weekend, and then you splinter out a part of that, and that becomes your Tripwire, and that's that first little section, the first lecture. And then you splinter out a part of that, and that becomes your lead magnet. And if you do it in that way, what happens is you have a beautiful flow all the way through. So anybody who gets the first bit is like, cool, I need the next bit, because that's more complete and that's going to be really useful. And so I love the way that you've done this, because the flow of these products, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, how do I come up with the Tripwire? How do I come up with the upsell? The flow of the products is vital. If you sell something that's a great deal for $7 and something else that's a great deal for $127, whatever, but they don't connect, well, then from the user's point of view, it's like, well, I've just got this. I'm not interested in that. They're not connected together. They're on different topics, what have you. Here we've got, like, if you get the first thing, it makes complete sense for you to get the second thing, then the third thing, and then so on.
That's right. So we took it out. He teaches this course, it's sequential. So session 2 builds off of session 1, vice versa. So we started with session 1. It just turns out with this particular course that the first session is all about pain, which is the number one reason people show up at the doctors. And so he teaches these very effective hands-on pain relief techniques. And so the first one that we teach is this injury recall technique. There's 3 others within this first one. So once they see that one, it's like, oh, for $149, you can get 3 more that, this first technique works for a lot of people. It's not going to work for everybody. So then you try these next ones. And so that's how we bring them in. Awesome. I want to state, again, I have no computer, my computer skills come from computer gaming when I was, younger. So I have none of this. I did not reinvent the wheel. I know from going through med school and stuff that the best way to do it is just like, this is what the guy says, do it that way. Then you're going to figure out your own things. But so, I downloaded a Ryan Deiss course, and I just went A, B, C, D, E, exactly like you said. I changed nothing at all. I didn't try to reinvent the wheel. I'm like, well, this seems like it'll work. I literally copied exactly what he said to do, using my own language. But I mean, it was a template that I used. And I'm like, well, this seem to work. I mean, there's a lot of great information out there. No need to reinvent the wheel.
What we've done in our course, where we're teaching this, is we've taken a lot of the stuff that we got from Ryan Deiss and then what we've learned from our own experience and like put it all together into, this is even more specific. This isn't just the Tripwire funnel. This is the Tripwire funnel for selling online courses. And how can we make that even more specific, which is like trying to make this even easier for people to kind of get going with it. Okay, so you got the Tripwire funnel, and just talk me through with that. Was that like version 1 in terms of like what product went into what place? That's awesome. Most people do not get it right first go. So I love that.
Well, and I tell you why, because I had taken this course for me, right? This is stuff that I use. So I knew what was interesting right away. And I knew what was going to be interesting to other doctors right away. And so I went, this is fascinating. I know this is going to be interesting. Now, because I've been running this for 5 years, I'm going to splice together, something different now just because it's been running forever. I knew what was interesting. I knew what was going to work because I was the client. I am an example of the kind of person who would buy this course. I don't know if everybody's like that, but this was the course that I would buy. And so it was I spoke the doctor language, and I knew if you saw this on a Facebook thing, you would click it, or this would at least be interesting to you, or not at all. And so I was only looking for those people who would like, oh, Dr. Schmitt's got something online. I want to see that. So yes, it's the exact same funnel I started with. Nothing's changed.
It's one of the things I find fascinating when we work with clients. We started out, we would go like, right, we're going to put this product and then this product. And now we're much more like, okay, you've spent 6 years or 10 years or however long it is getting to know your audience. Tell us, this is the basic approach. This is why Tripwire funnels work. This is the logic of it. This is the flow that we need to have. What do you think should go here? Like, we just accept now that we understand the principles and we can build everything and write the copy and all of that. But the people who are teaching the courses have spent years getting an intuitive sense of their audience. And it's so vital, that part, for understanding, well, how do each of these bits fit together, rather than just like, okay, I'm just going to hire someone who'll build it for me,
Yeah, it's knowing your audience. And again, my field's very specific.
Yeah.
And it's very small. I would say my total worldwide audience is somewhere between 60 and 100,000. So imagine, on Facebook, when you're trying to, that's a sliver. Many people, it's incredibly small.
Yeah.
And of those 60, 100,000, I would say really it's probably 6,000 to 10,000 would be actually worldwide. It's a sliver of people, but when you have an expensive product, you don't need a lot of people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And this is an expensive product. And so, it's a different kind of, you have to handhold.
So how have you done over the years with this? I don't want to ask you to share anything you're not comfortable with, but would you be willing to share the number of customers you've had or revenue or anything like that people can kind of get an understanding of how this, what level you got to with this?
Our list went from about 1,000 to about 17,000.
Okay.
Of that, I don't know how many are really, a lot of them just, however, the only way they get there is to enter. So that's what our list is now. I would say about half of that is probably active. Our revenues have stayed steady for a couple of years, between 175 and 200,000, depending on the year. This year, obviously, I teamed up with you because I think it should be double or triple that. And again, when you have an expensive course, you don't need a whole lot of people. In my case, if we get 300 physicians enrolled in the entire course, that's $1 million a year business. That to me is a reasonable thing to do. What we're missing, and again, this is because I'm coming this from a doctor, I'm thinking, oh, look at all these great things you can teach other doctors, all these techniques. But there's still people, and what we don't have and what we're working on now, and hopefully we'll be live in a month or two, is an actual webinar that's actually just a sales course about quintessential applications. So the doctor's talking about why it's important for, in reaching all those emotional things. I think that's kind of what we're missing. There's no sales pitch. The sales pitch is in this course interesting, not, yes, but here's how it can change your life. Here's how it can make your patients. Here's how it'll impact your pocketbook. Here's all of the emotional reasons why you need to do this. There's a big story around Quintessential about this course that we all talk about, but you couldn't find it on our website. It's like, well, I would tell someone, well, that's amazing. Is that on your website? Oh, no, we didn't actually see that anywhere. And so we're taking a different approach this year and going to try still have this Tripwire, but then push people to this webinar, which will be the big thing, so they can get the big picture. And then from there, do a traditional sales pitch after webinar. We actually do have monthly webinars, a subscription that people sign up for, and we do live webinars on different medical topics that we have about 300 people paying anywhere from $19 to $49 a month, depending when they got in with these webinars. So the doctors are used to watching webinars for continuing education and stuff. And so I think it's going to be a big boost to break us out to that next level.
Nice. Webinars are one of the most powerful techniques for selling online courses. It's the two main things or I suppose three: Tripwire funnels, webinars, and then simple email promotions as well. But webinars are just so powerful because they give you the chance to craft your message, to really say, right, what is it that people would love to know? What is it that they currently believe about the world that isn't true? That if they understood what is true, then they would think, oh my God, I need to buy a course to help me with this. And then you go, by the way, we have the course that's going to help you with, you can craft the entire thing as a seamless experience that delivers value and changes their worldview and gets them excited and builds trust all at the same time. And it's not an easy thing to do. But it's
and I want to give a shout out because this, again, not my field. And so I just want to say that the person who's helping us is a company called Story Engine with Kyle. What's Kyle's last name?
Kyle Gray.
Gray, yeah. Who I've hired to work this process out. And it's a rather long, which needs to be, because it's going to be a 45-minute or so webinar. And so we meet every week or every couple of weeks, depending on the doctor's schedule, to go through building the story, in a systematic way. It's been a couple months now, and it's really, I'm starting to see it come together really well. And, again, something I might have an idea, but I could have never put it together as it's coming together. So we're working with Kyle to get that webinar, the actual presentation together. And then once we have that, hopefully then we're going to tie that into the funnel that I've worked with you on, and that's going to be our next. So hopefully 2021 will be our biggest year.
Yeah.
Now, it's an investment. It's not cheap. It's one of those things that this is the foundation of your business. This is where you need to put the money.
Yeah.
And so you pay for it. You might pay for it up front, but then we'll have that forever.
Yeah.
And that our product sells for almost $5,000, and so you don't need to sell that many to make up for all that, and then it's just going to run. That'll run for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I think people underestimate the power of webinars, and then also underestimate the amount of, if they decide they want to do it, they also underestimate the amount of work that's needed to really.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's just a lot of hours. But I mean, okay. Nobody's making me do it.
People who are experienced marketers who've built webinar presentations before, and then they're like, right, I'm going to build another one for this particular product that I'm selling. And on average, they tell me it's 5 to 6 weeks doing nothing else, 5 to 6 weeks work just to get the presesentation right. And it's once it is,
that seems quick.
Yeah.
That seems quick. It's several months of working and building this out. Then once you have that, then there's the technical stuff that comes in, using whatever you're using, Infusionsoft, Entrepreneur. There's a whole technical side of that to get that delivered smoothly, because once you have this great presentation, that doesn't mean anything if it's not hooked up correctly. So all the emails go out right, and that whole technical aspect is another it's completely separate but necessary.
So you've got the Tripwire funnel. You're working on the next stage being the webinar funnel that's going to be promoting the whole course. That's great. And then what else are you doing to promote the course throughout the year? You're doing email promotions and launches.
Yeah. And so we've gone back and forth. We would do sales probably once or twice a year for the whole course. Because it's constantly evolving, we're all, our bottom line is how can we get more doctors to watch this? And so we've tried different pricing. We switched over recently to, well, let's just try a subscription only model. Normally the course, people would buy it if they purchase the whole thing, they could buy it at once for a big discount for, buy it now for $4,300 or 16 payments of $299, and they would get it that way. And then we said, okay, what if we just did a membership? $189 a month gets you everything, gets you the whole course, gets you access to our live webinars, and see how that works. Thinking that price was might have been some of the things that didn't work very well. It's up there now, and we got some people enrolled, but it wasn't the seller I thought it would be. And so after, again, talking with you and your company, realized that sometimes to sell, I had in my mind, we just can't keep having sales because that's not a sustainable business model. But it turns out actually there kind of is a sustainable business model if you do it right, if you do it in the right way.
Yeah.
That if you have these promotions where you have these pricing such that it seemed, whenever we did a sale, we sold, and our sales would be like $1,000 off if you buy it, by Monday or whatever. It worked every time. And in my mind, I thought that's not sustainable, but it's not true. I'm realizing now that when you go through the data that you guys went through, it's like, actually, we did best when we did those promotions, whether it was a Cyber Monday or Christmas or whatever. People like that. Doctors, everybody likes a bargain. And if you have an expensive course that's all about, and you had real discounts, $1,000 is a real discount, people would jump in. So we're actually going to move to the new pricing once we have this set up, such that when you land on the page, you can buy it, but it's at a price that nobody would. And then they enter their emails, and then they start buying, they go to the webinar, and all of a sudden this anchor price that we have on board, which is the true price of the course. If you were to buy it session by session, it would be, $6,000, $7,000. And when these doctors were selling these on DVDs, there were no discounts of like buy it all, if you buy the package. It was just straight up, everything costs this. And if you got everything, if you bought the whole thing, the book and everything, it was almost $7,000, and doctors did that. And then, I approached these guys, if you bundle this, you'll sell a little, would you rather sell 2 at $7,000 or 10 at 4? So, if you bundled up a certain way. And so that's what we're going to move to is these promotions, having sales, really, where you can buy the thing out. And so the webinar is going to be, we're offer the course basically at 50% off the advertised price online.
Awesome. So that's fantastic. I love it. I think people hopefully can learn a lot from this in terms of understanding what kinds of funnels, how the Tripwire funnel works. I just want to wrap up with one last question I'm asking everybody. Are there any online course creator groups or masterminds or summits that you've got benefit from, like things that specifically for online course creators?
From online course creators, no. And the reason why is because this course is already created. So I'm just marketing. I got a lot from the marketing courses. The course was already created. A lot of people are like, how do I start a course? Well, for me, it's a little different because the course was already
right.
Someone already made the course, and it was brilliant. There's a podcast that I listened to on online course creation, and I just can't remember it. It's like the online course guy or something. And then it's sort of like similar idea where he interviews people on different topics. This guy sells courses on how to play the piano. So very different because his market is massive, millions and millions and millions and millions of people. The course sells for, I don't know, less than $100 or something like that. But so he had that, and then that's his main source of income. And then he has, I've gotten a lot of tools and techniques. So different things that they'll use for, pick snippet and, little technique types that add to it. But again, they're the shiny objects under the thing. If you're not selling well at first, these things aren't going to be the key. The key is a good story and a good funnel. Yeah. And then you can add the bells and whistles and stuff like that. So the digital marketer was the biggest help for me. I belonged to that for a while and took all the different email stuff and a lot of email stuff, because that's what, that's how I sell.
Yeah.
I've taken some Facebook ads courses, and that was a complete waste of time.
Oh no.
Well, just because it's, you can't just casually do Facebook ads.
Right.
You go in that back end and it just, stress inducing, and so, it's, hire that out for sure. I had no business running my own Facebook ads. It's just, I did it just so I can maybe have some of the vocabulary, but that's not for hire that out, hire a copywriter. You're not a copywriter. I'm not a copywriter.
Yeah.
If you think you're a copywriter, you're not, because that's a full-time job. Someone spends a lot of time studying just that, and they're better at it than me. Yeah. So hire that guy or hire them to write out some things, and then change the language so it suits.
Thanks so much, Shannon. Really appreciate you taking the time today to share all of this information with everybody. Just as a reminder to everybody, if you want to find out how much money you might be able to make from implementing some of these techniques for selling your own online courses, then go to datadrivenmarketing.co/calculator and fill in your details, and we're going to send you an email with how much extra we think you would be able to make. Thanks again. Let's wrap it up.
Thank you.